right, here we go. We have one of the most rising rappers and artists out of Toronto right now, Aaron Lonelyyyboi Flowers. How are you doing today, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing all right, man. Thank you for coming by to TLOY for the very first time and all that.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. I mean, Billie Eilish, just like listen to the track and all that. A very dope track, with a unique sort of style and all that, because I know usually your style, it's very different and all that. I think within the rapping, it's more Griselda type rap and all that, but then you also interchange it with different vocals as well too. And I've been listening to the SoundCloud stuff on the way too, so it's an interesting vibe. You did the cover for Summer Walker's Girls Need Love.
Yeah.
You did Tyler's What's Your Name and all that, and then also with this other song which is more a rock based ballad as well too, so it's very interesting in that sense.
Yeah, very diverse.
Yeah, man. And then I actually found more about you from going to the event last month, the Northern Dreams tour hosted by Dreammore Studios.
Yeah.
And it was just a dope vibe, going to all four cities and all that, but seeing you at the Toronto show at Bar Cathedral, it was an interesting experience, because I think you had the crowd swayed, you had a very deep fan base. There was a lot of people supporting you in that sense too. So I think you might have been a show killer in that sense.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, man. So this is your very first time on the platform and all that. So I want to start off by saying you grew up in Toronto. That's correct?
Yeah. My parents are immigrants from Nigeria, so they moved into Canada, Toronto in the 90s. We started off in the John Garland area, grew up there for a while, and then my parents were just yo, we want to get our kids out of here. So we did a lot of moving around early on. We moved around the city, and then my parents were let's move our kids out to Stouffville. So we moved out to Stouffville, then Markham, Newmarket. My parents just flipped homes and moved around. Yeah.
So, what was, growing up in, Stouffville, as, a kid, too, and, in other parts of the city? What was, that experience, growing up, and would you say, you had a great childhood back there?
Funny enough, I enjoyed living in Toronto more than I enjoyed living in Stouffville. When I was in Toronto, there's a lot of Black people there, so it wasn't until I moved to Stouffville, being, one of, 5 Black kids in my school, that I realized that I was different from everybody else. But living in Toronto was definitely my best experience. My childhood was pretty good. Immigrant parents, you know how it usually goes. Tough, you better go to school, do all of this shit. So the only options for me for a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. So ended up going the law route. But music has always been the one thing that I've loved and enjoyed, and it's a passion for me. It's something I can't live without.
Most definitely, man. And John Garland, we're talking about Rexdale for a little bit too, around those ends. I've interviewed a lot of people from Rexdale, and there's a lot of unique acts from there. Pilla B, Mulla First, Jellystone, all those are the people. If you do know those names too, and then
I actually met Pilla a while ago. I was downtown, and he came up to me, and he was just I'm the best rapper in the city. And I was funny, I'm the best rapper in the city. And then we linked up, we shared each other's ads and everything. And I was this is a really dope guy. Everybody that I've met who's an act coming out of Rexdale have always been great personalities, great people.
Most definitely. And in those areas too, were they big for music at that time too? And even Stouffville as well, or just that?
For me, I grew up in a very musical household. So for my mom, she's a singer in the choir. I'm a church kid. So I grew up listening to music. My dad was a big hip hop R&B fan. So every day it was 106 in Park in the morning. And my dad had his Biggie CDs, his 112, Tupac. And when he would drive us to school, that's all I would listen to.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And your first introduction to music, did you buy a CD or something like that too, or was it more so just coming in, listening to your parents do the stuff or playing the radio?
Yeah. So for my first personal interaction with music happened when I was around 12, but I did have that background of listening to music at home. But it was one of my homies. He came over to my house one time, and he was just "You need to listen to this album," and it was Tyler the Creator's Wolf album. He had the CD for it, and he came to my house. We went in my basement, we just plugged it in, and I listened to that entire album straight. And I was that was the first time I was oh, I actually have my own taste in music, and I like my own music. It started off with Tyler, and then Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. Those were the 2 albums that I physically purchased and bought, and were just this is my introduction to music for my own taste.
Definitely. And like as you expanded onto like listening to Tyler, were there like other sounds that you got into like growing up? Like were there like other artists that people like recommended you like in that sense too?
So I grew up definitely being like an Odd Future kid. So it was like Tyler the Creator, Earl Sweatshirt, Frank Ocean, Haji Beats, The Internet, Sid, and obviously like the ones you can't really go without. Kanye, I listened to a lot of Kanye growing up. He's moving crazy right now, but but back then that shit was amazing. Jay-Z, Nas, Lupe Fiasco. I loved Lupe. I started skateboarding because of Lupe Fiasco. Yeah, those were definitely the sounds that I grew up listening to, and then as time went on, my the things I listened to expanded, and I went into different phases where I was listening to a lot of different music, a lot of indie, alternative music, some rock. Just different vibes, Lil Peep, XXXTentacion, Bring Me the Horizon, just a lot of different bands that kind of built the sound that I now have.
Most definitely. And you know, like you already like detailed your musical background and history, but how did you get into rapping like on your own, like just like taking it as like a career, and like what inspired you to become like a rapper and artist and like take it to like the next level in that sense?
It actually started at church, with my mom being like Pentecostal kid. The music that you listen to at church isn't necessarily like normal. We all try our own thing. So I remember at church, my mom was just like, "You're always rapping in your room. Why don't you rap in front of the church?" And she gave me like a week to come up with my own lyrics and everything. And I was like, the video's probably on the internet, but I was like 11, 12. Just rapping in front of the church, and I remember it was so like I did so bad. I froze for like the first like 40 seconds, and then after 40 seconds of freezing, I just went in and I spit the verse, and it was like after that moment, like after getting that verse off and seeing the reaction of people, I was like, this is definitely something that I can't live without. Like making music and doing this, I can't not do it.
Yeah, most definitely. I know that you talked about like being raised within like a Nigerian household and like your family like being strict on like education and like everything else too. What were their thoughts on you initially taking your music career like to like the next level, and were they sort of like at odds with it like at that time too, or would you say it would be indifferent?
Yeah, so for me, when music became something that I was like really doing, I was around like 16, 17. I was doing like talent shows at school, and I did the originally my parents thought it was just a hobby, and when I told them I wanted to take it seriously, they were very like, no, like you got to do the school shit. You have to like focus on school. You got to get a career. This music stuff's not going to work out. And I remember I went to Markham Fair, and they had a talent competition, and they were like paying people for the talent competition if you won. And I remember I asked my dad to come. I was like, "Dad, like just come see me, just see like if just see me perform, and then you can give me your thoughts after." And it was my first time performing like publicly outside of church, in front of total strangers, and I came first in a talent competition and got my very first check making music. It was $500, and my dad was like, he could really do this music stuff, like he can make money. And like since then it was just like focus on the stuff to build a livelihood, but then you can also do your music stuff as well, as long as you're doing it together collectively and not one's not crossing over the other.
Yeah, no, most definitely, and it's a great thing as well too. And you know, when describing, you know, your musical like style and all that, who would you consider your influences, like aside from like what you've listened to, and who are like some artists that you would like to work with someday, like musically, that you haven't worked with or that you want to work with?
All time, I'd want to work with Tyler the Creator, Frank Ocean, Earl Sweatshirt. Like those are my like top 3 artists that I'm like in love with. In the city, there's a whole bunch of artists that I really, really like. There's Saint Case. He's a great act. I love the music he makes. There's another act, Val Merck, really good guy in the city, makes a lot of good music. There's this R&B singer, Cube, really dope. Love his sound. Claremont II, I've heard his music, listened to his discography, love his stuff and love everything that he's doing. Noel as well, like Noel Pink, like great R&B singer. I love his vibe. I love the stuff he's doing. There's a lot of talent within the city that I'm like really want to latch onto and like book a studio session and we can all just work.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And you know what's crazy about this? I actually grew up with Claremont. And,
oh wow!
Yeah, so it's like seeing him like grow from like the first project that he did, you know, with Flame Princess and with
Yeah.
all the other stuff, to him like becoming like one of the biggest artists like in Canada right now. It's an amazing thing to see because he's toured with a lot of people, like with Sunreal, with Goldlink, and much more. And you know, he's even getting a credit on the Caliuchis project. So it's going to be very interesting and all.
I'm excited. He's doing so well. I'm just like, this is like a real talent, like a real talent.
Yeah, most definitely, man. And you know, getting into your creative process right now, like what's your process like, and what would a day like in recording or making music be like for you?
So a lot of my music is very personal. Like if you've listened to the stuff I make outside of like just the Billie Eilish, and you can hear that a lot of the music I make is very personal. So a lot of it, I treat my writing sessions almost like a diary session or a journaling session. I just go in, I'm like, okay, how am I feeling? And then I express my feelings in words, because for me, I'm an extrovert around the people who know me, but more times I'm like an introvert. I chill by myself, lonely boy for a reason, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I be on my ones, and usually I just like to like lock in with my feelings and how I'm feeling, and I write that stuff out. Then it's about finding the instrumental, and then once I'm able to find the instrumental and put that stuff together, I usually do a demo. I usually work on that demo. And then once that demo's done, I take that stuff to the studio, and then I bang it out at the studio.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And you know, when listening to the music, you know, like you have like a variety of styles. You know, you're not confined into one style.
Yeah.
Like with Billie Eilish, you were doing like a mix of like the whole like real like raw boom bap rap with like the Griselda style with like some vocals incorporated as well. But then when you get into other songs like, you know, Girls Need Love and all that, and then What's Your Name, you know, you're more so like vocalizing and doing some slide rap stuff a bit too. So how do you describe your style in that sense?
I like to say that my style is kind of fluid. I don't like sticking to genres. I feel like I love the genres that are available, but I don't want to be confined to it. For me, music is about experimentation. I just got to keep trying new things and see what works and what doesn't work. And music is about expression. Like, so for me personally, I don't feel like I can express myself by staying constricted to one specific genre. If I want to express myself and scream, like, there's not a lot of people screaming in rap music, so I might as well make a rock song where I can scream and get that stuff out. So that's how I like to take that approach with it.
Yeah, no, most definitely, man. And I know that you talked earlier that, you know, you're more like introverted in certain aspects, so that's how you got like the Lonelyyyboi name.
Yeah.
But was there like other like influences on how you got the Lonelyyyboi name, and like how did you get the name by any chance?
So for me, it started off in high school. It was kind of like an introspection moment for me. Like, I always described my high school experience as being a drifter. And by being a drifter, I meant like I didn't really have a set friend group of people. Like I hung out with everybody. But the thing with hanging out with everybody is like you don't really have like a foundation or a root. So I found myself having tons of friends, but being by myself a lot of the time. So Lonelyyyboi became a thing where it symbolized the people who have people around them but feel alone. So I was like, let me be the voice of the people who don't look like they're alone but are feeling alone.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And you know, when you were like at the stage like last month and all that, like when performing in Orphan Dreams, you know, you preferred to be called like Aaron at most parts too, because that's actually like
that's my name. Yeah.
So like you're kind of like, so like when people like usually use like the stage name and all that, do you prefer to be called Lonelyyyboi or like Aaron, or like how do you like go with it? Like
so for me, I like to create a separation when I'm performing and working. That's Lonelyyyboi. But if you're just seeing me one-on-one and you see me on the street, don't call me Lonelyyyboi. I'm just Aaron. I'm a regular dude just like you. So you don't have to worry about calling me Lonelyyyboi. Yeah.
You know, we're getting into this aspect right now with Billie Eilish, so that's actually your only song that you have like on streaming platforms aside from the stuff you have on SoundCloud. So, you know, what's like the inspiration and creative process for that song?
It actually happened like it was one of those late night songs. I was chilling with one of my homies at my crib, and we were just like freestyling over beats and everything. And I was like, let me just make a boom bap rap song and just like talk about my summer. So Billie Eilish came about like just talking about how my summer went and reminiscing on certain things that happened during the summer. And I was able to get some of that stuff out into that track.
Most definitely, man. And how was that impact like for you when you released that song for the very first time on all streaming platforms? Did it give you that confidence to release more music and take it to like the next level in your career when people started to notice it and like it gained the streams as it is?
Yeah, for sure. Most of the people who followed me and saw me like early on, especially the SoundCloud days, I would like, my whole thing was I would post a song and then delete the song. So a lot of my friends would be like, yo, like you're always like, you have so many songs, but you never have anything out. And that was mostly because of anxiety. I was like kind of scared of having music out and everything and like showing myself out to the public. But with Billie Eilish, I was like, you know what, this is like, if I want to do something and build something in music and be great, I need to start from somewhere. So Billie Eilish dropping was really cool because the feedback was great. Like a lot of people really liked it. A lot of people were bumping it, sending it to me and being like, yo, this is really dope. So it definitely gave me the confidence to be like, all right, it's time to take this music stuff that I'm doing for fun and make it like something that I can do long term and like go full out with it.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And in that sense too, did it give you that confidence to even like look into making like a full length project or like an EP in that sense too?
Yeah. So later out this year, we're working towards getting an EP out. That's like one of the big goals for right now is getting an EP out, but also getting a bunch of content out. We got a music video for Billie Eilish dropping too soon, so that's like really cool. Yeah, an EP is definitely one of those things that's gonna come out very soon. But like, obviously, I'm working towards a full length eventually in the future. But I want to be able to show myself off first and let people know who I am and what I stand for, and then we can start looking at all of that other stuff.
Most definitely. And you know what's interesting too is that, you know, you're on this tour, like Northern Dreams tour and all that, like with that song and with other like unreleased songs and stuff on SoundCloud.
Mm-hmm.
But people always like wanted to know, like in some cases too, like how you managed to get on that tour as like a touring artist. And
Yeah.
how was that experience like being on tour, like the impact that it had for you, like interacting with many people from all over like Ontario?
It was pretty dope. Like for me, it started with Bitter and Broke. I was doing open mics at Object Studios, and Bitter and Broke had told me that they were going on tour, and I was like, fuck it, bro, like I want to come on tour too. Let's work something out. So then they sent me the email address of Dreamore, and they were just like, get in contact with these people and let them know. So I ended up sending an email to Danica at Dreamore, and I was just like, I didn't send her Billie Eilish. I sent her one of my unreleased songs, and I was like, Billie Eilish is out, but I want you to know that I'm more than just Billie Eilish. So I sent her a bunch of my unreleased stuff, and she was just like, I really, really like this. And then we got in contact, and she was like, you're coming on tour. And I was like, I was so ecstatic. I let my family know, and I was like, hey guys, I'm going on tour. And my parents, like, they couldn't even believe it. They're like, holy shit, our son's going on tour. So I ended up doing 2 cities on the tour. I did London and Toronto, and that was very cool because like I've never been to London, Ontario, never interacted with people out there, but just being on tour and like getting to meet new people, getting to meet the acts and perform my music to people who've never heard of me before was great because the for me what I like is if my music has an impact and I can see it, that's what performing does a lot for me. That's what it means to me. So to be able to see people like completely in tune, listening and like being like almost encaptured by the music, that was really cool. I saw a lot of it in Toronto as well. Like the Toronto stop was really cool for me because it was like my first time performing in front of a crowd that big, and to see the reaction from everybody was crazy. It was amazing. It definitely boosted my confidence, and it showed me that I was moving in the right direction.
No, most definitely. And even in that sense too, like with touring, it's like an interesting aspect too, because like once you do those shows, like, you know, you never want to stop and all that. You always like want to keep going and all that. And I don't know if you have like any other plans to go on like other cities to do some shows, or to even do some shows at home and all that. You know, like maybe like opening up for certain artists or like doing your own headliner and all that.
So the goal would be to definitely open up for some artists. Headlining is something that I've wanted to do a group show as well. In March, I'm heading back out with Dreamore to do a U.S. tour. So we're going to be doing New York and maybe Charlotte. And I'm excited for that too, because once you get that touring bug, like that's it's irresistible. Like, you want to just keep doing it and keep sharing your music with people out there.
Yeah, most definitely. And it's not just like the money and all that.
It's not even about the money.
It's about like interacting with the people, like gaining like an audience, like knowing what's best for you and all that, like knowing how you do on stage too. Because like when you do that first show, like, you know, you always analyze on like what you had like in strength and like what you need to improve on in that sense too. So most people look at the like improvements and like what you need to improve on and take that into the next level to bring like a dope show or like a dope set.
Exactly.
Kind of incorporates that style of like stage performing and all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm definitely looking forward to, because for me, these tours and these shows are for me to get better as a performer, because if this stuff blows up, God willing, I want to be able to throw great shows in the future. I want to be able to have great stage presence, and having that practice of doing these shows is what builds that confidence to throw a good show.
Definitely. I want to speak more on the Toronto music scene right now. So how do you feel about the city's music scene right now? Do you feel that there should be some changes on the direction of what the scene should go to, or do you feel like it's fine the way it is?
But I don't like the direction of the Toronto music scene. I feel like a specific group of people are being pushed out, and a lot of the real talent that the city has is being left in the dust. There's a lot of artists in this city that I feel should be like worldwide acts. But because of just politics and how publications work around this city, certain people get promoted instead of other people. And I feel like it does more harm than justice to Toronto as a music community, because the people that you do see out don't fully reflect the talent that is within the city.
Most definitely. And as we get into the final question for a bit too, aside from your EP and doing the shows like in the US, like what's next for you in terms of like other creative projects or endeavors and so forth? And do you have any like final words you'd like to say for any person or any creative that out there pursuing their dreams?
In terms of like other goals, working on a merch line, clothing line, that's been pretty fun. Building a website. A whole lot of other creative stuff we got going on, just like ideas and stuff floating around. In terms of something I would like to say to creatives, keep grinding, just keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding, keep grinding. Don't stop, and take it seriously. Like for me, when I first started doing music, it was a hobby, but now it's almost like militant. Like I try to make a song every day. Like I'm always listening to music. I'm always working on my pen. I'm always trying new sounds, trying new things, because like you can't take it half-assed. Like if you want to be great, you can't be half-assed. You have to be putting in the work. So just keep putting in the work and your time will come.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron, you know, thank you for coming by to TLOY.
Thank you for having me.
All that, you know, your very first interview, which is a very dope experience to even share and to share your story in that sense. And I'm glad to be the one, like I'm actually glad that I'm the one that's actually like showcasing this and all that, you know, to get people to know more about you. And
I'm happy that you decided to even have me on the platform, honestly.
Most definitely. And you know, just seeing the rise and growth that you have out right now, it's amazing to see. And you know, just even with that song and even with other like unreleased stuff and the songs that you have out right now, you know, it's something that people should like aspire to be and to actually like look into and see that influence of even having those songs and like even performing at shows. And you know, I wish nothing but the best for you in that sense.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, brother.
And for your socials, it's just only like Lonelyyyboi, right?
Yeah, so on Instagram is Lonelyyyboi, LONELYYYBOI. For my clothing merch line, it's lonely.co, so that's LNLY.co.
Most definitely, man. I'm gonna plug that in for people to check that out too. And you know, I wish nothing but the best. And you know, until next time, man.
Thank you. I can't wait to see you next time as well.
All right. Peace.
Bye.